Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 439.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you're here today because, well, today we're going to talk about something that we all use, something that has been a part of your life for a very, very, very long time. And today's guest has been helping individuals with this same something for a very, very, very long time. And more importantly, he's here today to help you and I with this same something. You're like, what are you talking about, Jay? Totally understood. Well, I have with me today none other than Ric Edelman. And many of you may know him from his numerous books, from The Truth About Retirement Plans and IRAs, all the way to Extraordinary Wealth, The 8 Secrets of How 5,000 Ordinary Americans Became Successful Investors, and how you can too. He's got a ton of books. He's been on CBS, Fox, CNN, CNBC, The Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and a ton of other publications. Here's the point. He knows a lot about money. So much so that he's been ranked the #1 independent financial advisor in the nation by Barron's 3 times. So that's a long way of saying, take notes today. Let's pay attention because we're going to learn some interesting things I know about money, how it works with real estate, and more importantly, you might find that one thought, that one little nugget that could help you finally make the breakthrough you've been looking for. So help me welcome none other than Mr. Ric Edelman. Ric, you there?
Yes, sir. Good to be with you, Jay. Thanks so much.
I'm glad you could make the time. I'm sure you're incredibly busy. Now, one of the things that I like to do is that this being your first time here, I tend to ask everybody the same question the first time that they're here. Are you ready, sir?
Sure.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes, you know, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, etc. And I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. And you being an entrepreneur of sorts, also, I believe, have lots in common with them. For example, as an entrepreneur, we often can think that, you know, we're flying around saving people using our special skills in various different ways. Occasionally, we even get dressed up, you know, and put on our entrepreneur uniform. I think also, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. I mean, if you think about it, Peter Parker, before he was Spider-Man, was simply taking photos and trying to go to school. That's it. So what we want to know is that before all the books, before all the publications, before being the financial advisor you are today in Edelman Financial Services, everything, before all of that was even a thought, who is Ric Edelman?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it? The answer isn't all that big, though. I was a journalist writing in the financial trade press. And my wife and I were newly married in our early mid-20s, and because I was writing in the financial trade press, were like, hey, plan for our own financial future. So the two of us went to a financial planner, and we wanted to have, like any other young couple. And the planner ended up giving us really bad advice. In fact, he put us a lot on mortgage application, post-commit fraud. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And that really made us mad and inspired us to go learn how to do this on our own and take what we've learned and teach others to do it too. And that was it. That's who we were. We were young kids just starting out, trying to figure out how to make it work for ourselves and deciding to teach other people as well.
Got it. Okay. So, Ric, I hate to do this, but I'm going to need you to redo that exact answer. I need you to pick up right there because something happened until I don't know what happened, but everything was garbled until the last thing you said, and we did not get it at all. And I'm just trying to figure out, everything on my end is showing the right signal strength and everything, but for some reason it did whatever it did. So let's try this. If we can try that part one more time, and then if it does it again, we're going to have to figure out something else from a technology standpoint, because I don't know why it's not working all of a sudden.
It's just a phone call on this end, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, right now it's perfect. And that's the part that's really frustrating. So I'm snapping to the microphone 3 times, wait 3 seconds, and to just pick up as if I just asked the same question. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a really good question, but the answer is all that fascinating. I was a journalist in writing in the financial trade press in my early mid-20s. I was not newly married, and like any other young couple, wanted to buy a house, the piece of plan for our own financial future. And we went to a financial planner, and he ended up basically ripping us off. He gave us fraudulent advice, told us to lie on our mortgage application to qualify for the loan. And that really made us mad. And we realized, you know what? We're going to go learn how to do this ourselves, and then we're going to teach other people what we've learned. And that was the basis of becoming financial planners, which was 30 years ago. And we've been doing it ever since. We've now serve over 30,000 families across the country and have built what has become one of the largest financial planning firms in the nation. But that was how I started out as a journalist.
Interesting. Okay. So as I find that interesting, because you were not necessarily looking to be a financial planner. So you never, like, growing up said, "Ooh, one day I want to be a financial planner."
Absolutely not. In fact, I always brag that I graduated college without ever having taken a business class. And that has really helped me, because I have learned over the decades that business class basically brainwashes people. And they come out of business school with a very warped sense of approach for financial planning and investment management. And I didn't have that problem. And as a result, the advice we give our clients is very different from what typically they hear from the financial industry, because we're using common sense advice that is practical, that is easy to do, easy to maintain, easy to implement, that is very effective and helpful to helping you achieve your goals, whether it's getting kids into college or saving for your own retirement or caring for aging parents. This stuff's not very complicated. Wall Street wants to make it complicated so they can make a lot of money, but in fact, it's really simple and easy, and it's easy to learn and easy to do.
Indeed. Now, when you say the words, it's easy to learn, it's easy to do, there's a number of people I know who are listening right now going, but Rick, it hasn't been easy for me to learn, and it really hasn't been easy for me to do. I mean, do you not remember 2008? What would you say to that person?
I would say 2008 should not have devastated you. If it did, we'll probably make mistakes without realizing it. Millions of Americans, millions of people woke up in 2008 and 2009 suffering. Their investments were much riskier than they realized. The advice they were getting from their broker or financial advisor was not nearly as good as they thought it was. They didn't have a strategy, didn't have a plan, and didn't know what to do in the face of 2008. And so that should have been a wake-up call, that, hey, what I'm doing ain't working. I don't understand what's happening. I don't know what I should be doing about this. How did this happen, and how do I prevent it from happening again? If you were asking all those kinds of questions, then 2008 was a wake-up call, an opportunity to fix it. Unfortunately, we found that many people were doing it on their own without knowing what they were doing, or they were using advisors who were equally inexperienced, who had never gone through a major market mayhem, such as the tech bubble in 2000, or the crash of 87, or the recession of 94. And so it really matters using an advisor who's skilled and experienced, who can guide you through tumultuous times like we had in 2008, which we still have today.
Got it. So when it comes to, because you bring up an excellent point, if I don't know, the idea or general consensus is to rely on someone who does, or at least we believe who does. How can we know if they know?
Yeah, it's a real key question, Jay, because in the old days, when I first started in the 1980s, success was all about picking the right investments. Today, it's all about picking the right investment advisor. So how do you know you're picking a good one? To provide you with assistance, I have published 18 questions that you should ask your advisor or any prospective advisor you're thinking of hiring. 18 questions along with what the answers ought to be. You can get the questions for free on my website at ricedelman.com. It's spelled ricedelman.com. and because no one can spell Ric Edelman, it's my mom's fault.
Right.
So if you go to ricedelman.com, on the main page, you'll find the 18 questions that you should ask. And I'll give you just a few of them right here, and you'll see they make common sense. Number one, you should ask the advisor, what are the services you provide? Make sure that what this advisor does is what you need done. You would do that when hiring a doctor. Are you a general practitioner? Are you an internist? Or are you a heart surgeon? I want to make sure I'm hiring the kind of doc I need for my situation. Different advisors operate the same way. Some advisors only provide certain types of services. For example, most only do investments. They don't do financial planning. So they can't help you with retirement planning and college planning and estate planning and helping with employee benefits. So ask yourself, what is it you need? And then find an advisor who does that. Second, how do you get paid? Very basic question. Be afraid to ask it. Don't be embarrassed. The advisor certainly should not be embarrassed to answer. Because many advisors operate on commission, which is a conflict of interest. If he wants to sell you something, whether it's a stock or a bond or a mutual fund or an annuity or non-traded REIT or who knows what, he makes money selling you the product like a used car salesman. I believe is fee-based. How you pay doctors and lawyers and accountants. You want to pay based on the advice and the services, not based on you buying something from them. And third, and this is really important, please describe for me your typical client. And you want him to tell you that he serves people like you. I mean, if you're a multi-billionaire, you want an advisor who serves multi-billionaires. But if you're a school teacher, you want an advisor who's experienced helping school teachers.
Yeah. Again, very.
So those are just three of the questions, Jay, and there are 18 total that can really help you make sure you're choosing an advisor who's got the experience, the skills, the ethics to be able to truly assist you the way that you and your spouse need.
Well, and you bring up something that's, at the forefront, and it's part of how I even got involved inside of the whole real estate space, was this concept of retirement planning. And it seems to be, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is why I want to ask you this question. It seems to be, when I survey the concept of history or the concept of retirement, it's not exactly an age-old concept. It's relatively new to some degree, and it feels like there's a lot of people who are still trying to just figure out even what that means. Is that similar to that been your experience? Is this the idea of retirement so solid that here's the foolproof and understandable way to make it happen?
I think you're onto something, Jay. Retirement. I wrote about my very first book, The True back in the 1990s. Retirement is 20th century innovation that will not exist in the 21st century. And we're beginning to see that right now. If you're in your 60s or 70s or 80s, yes, retirement is clear. But if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, I don't think you'll ever retire. I don't think retirement will exist in this century. It never existed prior to the 1900s.
Whoa. Hold on. Did you say okay, I've never heard anyone say that because I have a similar feeling. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Did you say that if you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, you don't think we'll ever retire?
Correct. You'll probably never retire.
This is good. Keep going. I'm taking notes.
Back in the 1800s and earlier, if you were alive, you worked. You either grew or shot your food, and you had to feed yourself and your family. You stopped working. You stopped when you were dead. In the 1900s of industrial revolution, we had people living in factories and working for 40 years, and employers pensions. Again, they work for 4 years. We pay you check for the rest of your life based on your paycheck for us. And the Social Security system in the 1930s was the same day. the system was really simple. You retired at 62, you were dead at 65. And that became the American dream. Well, today it's no longer the case for several reasons. Number one is longevity. We're living longer than ever before. We're not retiring at 62 and dying at 65. We're retiring at 65 and living until 95.
Right.
According to the American Society of Actuaries, a person born today is going to live to 86 years of age if they're a man, 88 years as a woman. And guess what happens when you get to age 86? Your life expectancy is going to be 90, 95, or beyond. Exponential technologies, massive innovations in medicine, healthcare, nanotechnology, biotechnology, bioinformatics, artificial intelligence, robotics, all of these are going to have dramatic improvements in healthcare and longevity. Chances are really good you're going to live to 100, 110, 120. The notion of retiring at 65 and being retired for 50 years, economically unsustainable. There's no way you're going to be able to work for 40 years and be retired for 60. So you're going to need to keep working. And the good news is you're going to be healthy enough. You're going to want to keep working. You're going to want to be busy and active. You're not going to want to play golf all day. You're not going to want to garden all day. You're going to get bored to tears doing that. You're going to want to contribute to society in meaningful ways.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to work. You're going to have to work. You're going to be healthy enough to work. So you can forget about retiring the way your grandparents did. That ain't going to happen for you.
Well, and you bring up an interesting subject for me personally, because a couple years ago I called myself, okay, I'm done, retired. We, had a lot of real estate and whatnot, but I lasted about 2 months before I drove myself nuts. Like, I got nothing to do, so I got to do something. And but it's also I think it's one of the most difficult challenges that we're facing, because in order to plan for retirement, let's just say if we are living longer, one of the things that's really out there that makes this thing so challenging is this whole understanding and concept of inflation. It's like, how do you make it economically sustainable? How do you know when enough is enough? And that was actually one of the reasons why I totally dig real estate, is because I can adjust my income with inflation. But yet it's not simple, or it's not as simple as it feels. But I want it to be simpler. So help me here, man.
Well, you want it to be simpler, but that doesn't mean we can make it so. You're absolutely right, Jay. Inflation is insidious. Inflation is the silent killer of money, because people don't notice it on a regular daily basis. They get their bank account statement. It shows them they made a couple of bucks in interest. What it doesn't tell them is the market value of those couple of bucks, how the real value of money due to inflation. So we have to recognize that you need to invest in assets that grow in value as opposed to fixed income assets. Putting money in a bank accounts, annuity accounts, treasury bills, bonds makes no sense to buy a fixed income product when we live in a rising cost economy. So you want to own real estate, you want to own stocks, you want to own assets that can grow in value to help offset the impact of inflation. And it's increasingly important that people recognize this and adapt investment strategies to enable them to do that.
Well, okay, and you mentioned many other things, but then why is there still so much money in those fixed income? And more importantly, every time I go to the bank and I'm sitting next to someone's always talking about trying to get a few more percentage points on their what I call certificates of depression, because I know they're going backwards with those numbers, but why can't we seem to get that information out there if we're not actually making progress? What's the holdup? Why are these things still there? I mean, these instruments don't work. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that you are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. But here's one of the things that's really important. One of the most important things that you can do is get started. One of the things that I've said before, and I say again, once you get started, stay started. But more importantly, there can be lots of roadblocks to getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of those roadblocks for you and make it a little bit easier. Because the thing that I don't want to stop you is thinking, do I need a local number? How about a long distance number? Or should it be 800? How on earth am I going to make that happen so that people can contact me as I'm out there building my business, making my cash flow grow? But most importantly, understanding that it doesn't have to be difficult. Many of you may know, but if you don't, there's a company out there by the name of Grasshopper. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Grasshopper is the entrepreneur's phone system. It works like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware to purchase, no software to install. It's just a number that flat works. So if you are out there building that distributed workforce across many different locations, it's a way for you to still go out there and make your number be unified, simple, easy to use, something we've been using for quite some time. So again, go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Now, let's get back to the rest of the story.
Yeah, I call them, that goes to depreciation. You and I are saying the same thing. The two reasons people insist on buying these low-yielding fixed rate of return products. One is lack of education, coupled with fear. Because typically it's a lack of education that creates fear. You tend to fear that which you do not understand. And people do not understand how money works. They don't understand the economy. They don't understand interest rates or inflation. They don't get the Fed. They don't understand economic policy. And as a result, they fear it. The only thing they know about money is what the headlines tell them, and the headlines are constantly scaring them about volatility and risk and market crashes and instability and all the latest nonsense that the media loves to throw at your head every day to scare you into watching what they have to say. And so fear and lack of education are one very big reason that people don't want to take risk with their money. They're afraid of losing money. They've seen it happen to themselves or their parents or their friends or their coworkers. They don't have it happen either at all or again. And so they want what they perceive to be a safe investment. Not realizing that those safe investments, the taxes and inflation, are doomed to failure. So that's one reason, fear and lack of education. The other reason is there are a lot of people on Wall Street and banks and insurance companies who make a lot of money selling investments that appeal to your apparent concerns, like I don't want to lose money, I don't want to pay taxes, I want guaranteed income, I want current income. I mean, all these kinds of sales pitches, they invent products like non-traded REITs and fixed annuities, equity income annuities, variable annuities. They invent master limited partnerships and oil and gas deals. They come up with all these kinds of crazy products to appease your sensibilities, to appeal to your vanities, to appeal to your desire of no risk, no tax, high return. And what they don't tell you are the risks you're taking and the incredible high commissions they're earning by selling you these products. And you're not getting, you'll get the late night infomercials on reverse mortgages, but you don't see any late night infomercials on people who are offering you a reasonable, effective, time-tested, academically proven money management approach. I mean, I'm not running late night infomercials. but the Fonz is pitching a reverse mortgage,
right.
And so that's part of it. I think it's people buy what they are being pitched, and the lack of education makes them susceptible to those scams. Free lunch and free dinner seminars. How popular are they all over the country? It's a real shame.
Yeah, well, okay, and now we're hitting on we're probably stepped on more than a few toes already, but who cares? The thought process though is with this lack of information, with this leading into fear, isn't there just as much fear about doing something completely different and I know at least when I'm working with a client or a new person trying to invest in real estate or what have you, there still seems to be just as much fear of I don't know what's going to happen and all this other stuff. It's like you're either afraid over here and you duck and cover and hope, even though it's not going to work, or you go do something else and you're just like, well, I'm in the unknown and I feel alone.
Well, 2 points there. You're right. What you've just said is how so many people feel, and you really have your finger on the button there. You really do get it, Jay, of how people are feeling, and that's wonderful. And to those folks who would be saying what you just quoted them saying, I would say, look, the reason you're expressing fear is twofold. Number one, you've never done this before. You have no experience doing this. We all fear the unknown. The first time we do anything, we do it really poorly. Think about the first time you drove a car or the first time you kissed a girl. Not good at it, as she will be very quick to tell you, right?
Right.
The more you do it, the better you get at it, and to the point where you can do it without getting any thought at all. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of do now. They text while driving because they think they're so good at it, they don't have to watch the road. And so one is, we're not good at it. We don't have a lot of experience at it. The second is that you don't have to go it alone. People feel that they have to. They're wrong. You don't need to go alone. You need to make how available, accessible financial advice is, how affordable it is. My firm, household minimum, $5,000. We're not requiring you to invest in millions of dollars for us to serve you. We don't care how much money you have. Whether you have a lot or you have a little. If you're willing to accept our help, we're willing to help you. We've got the experience. We've been doing this for 30 years. We have 30,000 clients. It's the first time you have faced a car purchase versus lease question. It's the first time you've sent a kid to college. It's the first time you've signed up for Medicare. It's the first time you've had to choose mutual funds in your 401k. It's not the first time I've done it. I've done it thousands of times. My colleagues and I, hundreds of thousands of times. Benefit from our experience. And not just my firm. I'm not using this as a commercial for me. This is true of all financial advisors around the country. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of talented advisors. You don't have to go it alone. So I would simply say everyone in America needs a financial plan, but not everyone needs a financial planner. There are some people who do have knowledge, skills, the time, the desire to do this themselves, and they should. They should do it on their own. You don't need a real estate agent if you're going to buy a house. You know what you're doing. You know how to do it. You've got the experience. You've got the time to devote. Nobody needs a real estate agent. People who have never bought a house before will know how to do it. Benefit immensely, even though they pay a service from an agent. Same thing with financial advisors. If you're facing something you've never done before and it's giving you fear because you're not sure how to do it and you're fearful you'll do it wrong, ask somebody for help.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. Now, because I, have this affinity for what I would call real or physical assets, I'm curious to hear your thought process about, when and why does real estate make sense, or does it even make sense from your perspective?
It does. We believe in owning everything all the time. There are 16 or so major asset classes and market sectors, and real estate is one of them. Stocks and bonds, government securities, foreign securities, commodities, natural resources. The list goes on and on. There are about 16 of them, and real estate is a key one. There's no question that real estate belongs in your portfolio. But I'm a big fan of making bets. I don't think putting too much money in any one asset class, because then you run risk if something goes wrong, or you get in the way wrong. So yes, real estate belongs in the portfolio, but not exclude all else. And the problem with real estate is that there's no great way to buy it, because with a piece of with a stock, for example, or a mutual fund, I can open an account with $100. I can add $10 if I feel like it. If I want to liquidate, I can liquidate $5 anytime I want. You can't do that with real estate. You're not going to find a house for $100. And if you buy a house for a couple of $100,000 and you need some money back, you can't sell the bedroom. You can't sell a piece of a house. So it takes a lot of cash, is my point, and therefore you can't. My clients own 7,000 stocks because of our extensive diversification. But as a real estate investor, you can't own 7,000 houses because they each cost too much. So it's hard to diversify compared to other assets. It's just more complicated and more cumbersome because it's a real asset. I mean, houses can catch fire, houses can be robbed, houses can be knocked out of stores, houses can have a murderer next door depreciating the market by the whole neighborhood. So it's a nuisance and a hassle. So for us, and this is just a perspective point of view, which doesn't mean what I'm doing is right and everyone else is wrong, but because we're not active real estate investors, because it takes time to find the right house, inspect that house, maintain that house, deal with tenants as a landlord, and all that other kind of good stuff, because that's not our thing, the way we buy real estate for our clients is by using real estate investment trusts.
I see.
Because this way we diversify. By using REITs, we give our clients access to hundreds of properties, diversified not just geographically, but also by type of property. Commercial property, retail, industrial, residential, manufacturing, agricultural, housing, multi-tenant housing, and so on and so forth. So that's the approach we use because it fits in with the way we run money. That's not to say that the alternative is equally effective. If you are going to take the time to develop the knowledge and manage properties, we have a lot of clients who own dozens of properties. They're very effective landlords. Real estate can be a very effective way to manage assets. You need to decide what your personal preference is. So either do it the way you do it, buy the properties, or do it the way I do it, buy funds that buy the properties. But either way, real estate belongs in your portfolio.
Got it. Totally understood. Now, let's switch for a second, because for some real estate, as you mentioned, it does require a lot of cash sometimes to even participate. So let's start with the good old fashioned, I got an idea and want to make a business. Because to me, as I survey the marketplace, as I look at the job market and everything that's happening worldwide, I think we're on this movement towards self-employment for so many of us and in so many different ways between the sharing economy and all these things that are happening today. Does that idea have a place? The idea of, if I can't get to quote unquote retirement through solely, real estate and other efforts, should I be now in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whenever, should I be researching some special skill or ability or some way to create a product or a service around what I can do to be able to offer it to people as a part of my retirement plan? Is that something that you think we should be doing, even though we probably had a different plan before?
Yes, I definitely agree with you. You mentioned the sharing economy. Already, in the Department of Labor, a third of Americans are engaged in the sharing economy. It's never been easier because of the internet. The ability to create a business, operate a business successfully, even on a part-time basis, has never been easier. And we've talked a little bit about the technology so far, and I have a new book coming out, my next book, in March, on the subject of exponential technologies and how they're going to impact personal finance and dealing with the very issues you're describing. We're seeing a metamorphosis go on. It's the difference between the New York model of work and the Hollywood model of work. Traditionally, most Americans are familiar with the New York model, meaning you go to work for an employer, you show up in an office building, you spend all day there, you do that for 40 years, and you then retire. The Hollywood model is totally different. In the Hollywood model, a group of people with a variety of skill sets all come together for a short period of time for a specific project, such as making a movie. So you have a wide variety of skills and abilities. They come together for a short period of time, often on a part-time basis, and when the project is done, they disperse and they move on to the next project. In many cases, they have multiple projects going on all at the same time. So a writer, a director, a fashion designer, a set manufacturer, the stuntman, the caterer, all of these folks are working on multiple projects with a group of people only for a specific period of time. And that Hollywood model is going to become more and more common. The notion of having a single paycheck from a single full-time employer is going to go away. And it's going to be replaced by you having multiple employers all at the same time, all of whom you're working for on a part-time basis. And in many cases, not as an employee, but as an independent contractor, where you actually own your own business and you are putting services to individuals on as needed on-call basis. That's what the sharing economy is all about. It gives you greater control over your time, greater control over the work you do, who you do it for. With all those advantages, the disadvantages is you don't have the same safety net system. Because you're an employee, you don't have health insurance. You don't take vacation. You don't have an employer contributing to your 401k. So greater burdens of responsibility are on you to engage in business in this fashion. But the opportunities are huge, and we think are going to become far more common in the next couple of decades.
Yeah, it's having such an effect in the real estate community. It's having lots of effect in many different communities, and it is just something that I just keep seeing. And I think about, the United States history. We're born from the people who were quote unquote self-employed, and then the concepts of the university, the Fed, as you mentioned earlier, and the corporation come together to create this time period that we currently live in, and it makes it interesting to figure out like what's the next move, or what should I be doing in order to be able to put myself in the correct position. So let me ask this question that could be just interesting to hear your answer, because I have a college age child, and having traveled internationally, as I'm sure you have. One of the things that always comes to my mind when I think about her and planning for her financial future is the fact that as technology goes, the employment landscape flattens, and it makes it just as easy for me as an entrepreneur to hire someone who doesn't speak English as a first language in a foreign country, who's willing to work for significantly less than what that same skill set costs inside my own country. And I think it puts some of our, we'll call them younger individuals who are just now beginning to enter the workforce at a serious disadvantage. And I'm just curious what would you say to that group of individuals who are likely listening right now? Like how can they plan today for what is clearly already happening?
First of all, it's not a kid in going services. It's not the kid you need to be. It's robots. Because robots are going to eliminate a great missions completely. It's be a human working people, be a robot it for free.
Oh, good point.
To take this look now of occupation, to recognize that a great many of today's currently existing occupations will not exist in the future because they will be taken over by automation, and instead focus on the occupations that are going to survive and thrive going forward. And they fall into basically three categories: thinking, communicating, and creating. And you need to focus from a career perspective on those three things, because those are the things that robots are not going to take over from a threat perspective. They will be involved in each of those three, but they will not be a competitive threat to you. So it's not geography you need to threat, it's technology, or that you need to fear. It's technology. And in my book that's coming out, a lot of times talking about career planning, which is in a college plan. It's one of those important financial planning concepts. It's not about getting a college degree anymore. It's about developing skills and experience to be able to generate income. And that means college planning is not going to be as big a deal compared to career planning. And that's going to be everybody's still going to be out of the age of 70 by 2030. So you're absolutely right. Your question is the ability for college kids today is to obtain a degree that is not going to be obsolete in an exponentially technological world. And that's the real key. So they need to pay a lot of attention to this and pay no attention to most professors, because most college professors are looking backwards over the last 30 years. They're not looking forward to the next 30. And they don't realize that a lot of the departments, a lot of the degrees that are being taught today are going to be completely obsolete in the next 15 years.
Okay, got it. So if we take the two slices of that we've talked about, either investing time in terms of, in yourself, self-development, becoming an entrepreneur in various different ways, what skill sets do I need, as well as investing money. What I hear, the thread between them is it's time for us being the regular human, citizen, going out there to take more responsibility for the outcomes of what it is that we want at the end of the day. If that's the case,
personal responsibility. You're right.
Well, the challenge is all right. How do we do that when I'll say the system in quotes doesn't exactly lend itself to learning some basic concepts? Because I run into so many people when I say ROI, they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, return on investment. And so how do we combat that? What can those of us that are listening right now begin to do to put ourselves in a better position to go, you know what? I will actually begin to actually understand what the guy on CNBC is actually trying to say.
Right. Get education. That's where it all starts. And selfishly, I would say start with my first book, The Truth About Money, because it provides an overview for people who don't know what money is, don't know how money works. What's a stock? What's a bond? How does a bank account work? What is a plan, retirement plan, how to buy a car, and how to get that? So how to buy a house. It's really basic. You begin when you have no place to start. So the money is a successful book. That's one year word. You can tools around the country. It's a great place again. Get it educated. Did from your parents, didn't from college, and you've got to take control. It's personal responsibility here. Don't let the system keep you down, and don't assume the system will support you. If in the 21st century, it's going to be all up to you individually, and you need to start now and learning how this works.
Yeah.
And as I said in the beginning of our conversation, the good news is you'll be amazed how easy it is to learn this stuff. It's not complicated. It's common sense. It's easy to learn, easy to implement, easy to maintain. Don't be intimidated. Don't let the fear factor cause you to defer.
Absolutely. Now, we've talked a lot about fear for sure. I find that especially having invested and done a number of things, I'm always dealing with two basic emotions. One, yes, fear. Anytime we go to buy something or do something new, there's that fear. But on the other side, for some of us listening, we probably have a number of assets, et cetera, already, and we're dealing with that other emotion, greed. So I guess my question is, when is it time to sell or let go, or how do you know?
It's all part of your financial plan. The big mistake investors make is that they buy assets without knowing why they're buying them and what they're supposed to do with them once they own them. You should never buy an asset without understanding why you're buying it and why you own it. In other words, it's not a question of, I'm going to buy it because I think it's cheap and I think it's going to rise. You buy it because it's part of your long-term objectives. You buy it because you're trying to achieve specific goals. Investing done correctly is all about goals. It's not about return. It's not about risk. It's not about taxes. It's not about fees. It's all about achieving goals. So you want to look at your investment with a simple question: is this investment helping me achieve my goals? If it is, it's that simple. A lot of people don't know how to set up goals for financial planning. So here's the questions I'll pose to you. These are the only two questions that matter. When do you want to retire, and how much income do you want at that time? That's kind of it. All you got to do is answer those two questions, and we can then, as financial planners, tell you, here's how much money you need to save monthly. Here's where you need to save it. We're done. If the goal is college instead of retirement, if the goal is buying a second house or buying a car, great. What do you want to do? When do you want to do it? How much is it going to cost? And we'll tell you what you need to do in order to accomplish it. So it's all about goals.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I think there's a misuse of the word, a word in our common language that sends us down the wrong path, because we say the words, or we commonly use, hey, do you have a retirement plan? And I think most people actually have a retirement account, but don't have a retirement plan. Do you get what I mean there?
Totally. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Very good at putting it. And I'll take this further. I think a lot of people do have a financial plan. They claim they don't. So I'll tell you what, it's not a bit over here. And their financial plan is not just keep working until something happens. Of course, that's not a really good financial plan, but they've got one. So you're absolutely right. You never get into your car without knowing where you're planning to drive to, right? It's pretty rare we get in the car with no destination in mind. Same thing with your life. Where are you trying to go? Where do you want to end up? If you don't know where you want to go, you'll probably end up somewhere else. So just ask yourself the question. If you can't answer it, ask your spouse. If you don't have a spouse, ask someone else, where do you want to go? And then you'll be able to begin mapping out how to get from here to there.
Indeed, indeed. I totally appreciate your common sense approach. Now, for those that have listened this far, I'm sure they want more. They want to understand more, maybe even take advantage of some of the works that you've already got published. What's going to be the best way for them to track you down?
You can get all of our info at our website, riceedelman.com. That's riceedelman.com. You'll get tons of information to learn more, as well as how to reach us. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer any questions you got.
Excellent, excellent. Totally appreciated. Well, what I do want to do is I've got one more question for you, because I think this is going to be interesting to hear your answer. There's a number of individuals that I know that are listening. They're on that cusp. They want to be that entrepreneur. They want to take that next step, and that's part of their retirement plan or financial plan, is to build their own business. Yet they're still working for someone else, or they've got the proverbial golden handcuffs. They feel trapped and unable to make that jump. I often say they're standing in front of the superhero outfit store right now. They're considering it. They're like, man, am I gonna wear a cape? Am I gonna wear tights? They're picking out the color, but in the back of their mind, they have that voice. And I know you've dealt with that voice, and you have counseled so many people who have dealt with that voice. It's that voice that always comes up that says things like, who are you to think that you can retire? Who do you think you can start a business? And unfortunately, for some people, they're related to that voice, and they have to deal with it. So my question to you is, knowing what you know about humans and everything else, if you were talking directly to one of those individuals and you knew that they would actually take action on what you suggested, and they would do so in the next 24 to 48 hours, what would you suggest that they do?
Create a business plan. A lot of folks have desires of wanting to be an entrepreneur or build a business. They have this great idea for an invention or a product or a service, but they need to put it in writing. Tell me exactly what you're going to sell, how you're going to sell it, who you're going to sell it to, what's it going to cost. You need to be able to articulate this in writing in a page or two. And that process of trying to do that, of writing it down in a page or two, will create clarity of thought and error check your premise, your concept, to see if it works. Most people who go broke when they start a business do so because they didn't really have a clear plan at the outset. They just had some vague idea and they took a shot at it without really having an effective plan. So build a business plan. If you don't know how to, the web can help you a lot. A lot of talented advisors can give you guidance as well, but start with a business plan.
Excellent and well said. I definitely want to say thanks for taking the time to invest your decades of experience here with us today at the Cashflow Diary.
My pleasure, Jay. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. I mean, if nothing else, you heard that today we need to be focusing on things that help our occupations and products and services, and in the thinking, communicating, and creating space. You know what you need to do, which could mean, and probably does mean, that you need to get over to ricedelman.com, or as he said, riceedelman.com, because you want to make that next step. You have some goals. Let's get them on paper. Let's begin to take some action today. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.